This is the Long War. I'm Rob Baer, and joining me once again are my partners in crime, Kenny Boucher, Wyatt Turk, and Mike Haspel. What's up, guys?
Yo, dog, great to be here.
Yo, what's up?
Greetings and felicitations.
Wyatt has a pirate a pirate man on his symbol
Yeah, it's one of my logos.
with the club, the spade, the club.
It's a club. I
Well,
mean,
it's kind of like this, and it threw me at first.
well, it's
I was like, wait
funny
a minute.
because normally, Jack of spades, ace of spades.
Right?
So
Yeah.
for a long time, he actually had a spade in his logo without realizing it.
That was only like for the first 2 weeks I started streaming, like
He made it 2 weeks
7 years ago.
as Jack of clubs painting with a literal Jack of spades as his logo before.
Yeah,
It's like,
it's already
Same.
So I'm just saying, it's like it gets in your head.
Card related content. It's fine.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah,
We all make mistakes.
No, I've never made a mistake, not once.
facts.
Never.
Well, tonight we have a faction focus Space Marine breakdown.
Oh yeah, I thought that would be good given the current rumors and the state of Astartes.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
Wyatt plays a lot of
Astartes,
Space Marines.
we got Astartes
Good deal.
2, Space Marine 2. We got so much stuff going on. So this makes perfect sense. And we've got Mike Haspel returning. We get to ask him questions about his Kickstarter and everything like that. So let's keep the show on track with exactly 1 minute ahead of schedule now. So let's
What?
I'm looking at my time. I'm looking at the show notes that Rob provided me. And it says 8:25 intros of Would You Rather.
Oh, I figured we would start right now. So
Yeah.
you're actually ahead of schedule.
Yeah, 1 minute. I'm fucking.
Wow.
I
Yeah.
got a whole minute to fuck around right now. Shit, what
Yeah.
do I do with this?
I don't know. You can do anything, bro.
I can do anything. But I'm excited because we got Mike back, but I don't think Mike's gonna make it next week. So we'll probably have a different
No.
guest. 'Cause
Yeah,
you'll
I'll
be
be
in
at
Utah?
LTUE in Utah.
Oh, cool.
Classic. All right. Well, it ticked over. It's 8:25 now. So let's roll out to the Cave of Wonders and touch nothing but the lamp.
Would you rather go an entire year without eating meat or
man.
an entire year without eating any vegetables?
You know what I want to say?
Yeah.
I feel like one of these will straight up kill me and one won't.
Well, as per usual with our food dilemmas, like you have vitamins and stuff, so you
Yeah.
won't be like killing yourself.
What's the beehole situation here?
What does it have to do with not eating something?
Well,
the
because if
carnivore
you-
diet
Yeah.
is real.
Yeah, it's gonna plug you up. Maybe even give you
I've,
that.
I've had the opposite. I've had the opposite experience.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, it's funny because vegetarianism is real too. So both
Yeah.
of these diets both of these exist. And there's actually a lot of literature for both. So I feel like you can kind of pick either and you're fine. There's resource material, there's cookbooks on everything. So
Sure.
real-
The
this
genie
is
gives us supplements. So.
right. And so
Yeah.
it really comes down to personal preference. That's because it's not even a health concern at this point. Like if I pick vegetarianism, I would be concerned because all I know is like potatoes, peas, and carrots. So I'd have to go online and figure other things out too that are not those three things. You know what I'm saying? Because I have a year of only eating vegetables.
But yeah, I mean the resources are available, but that being said, like
Do
there's always
you-
some other considerations.
I have a question for the genie.
Mhm.
Do I get to do veggie based meat? Like
Yeah, yeah.
Impossible
Oh,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Impossible
Oh, yeah.
Burgers.
Yeah, then that makes sense.
Oh, that opens up a whole nother.
Because it's not meat.
Yep.
You could eat
Yeah.
anything not meat.
Yo, and those are shockingly good.
Really?
Shockingly.
The Impossible Burger?
Yeah.
Yeah, that thing's good.
I
You guys are-
I
you guys
I
are
did not
crazy.
know what to expect, and I was not
Tastes
disappointed.
exactly like a hamburger.
It is very good tasting.
It's better than a McDonald's hamburger. It's just
I don't think I've
Man,
eaten at
I
McDonald's.
want to know
in,
which
like,
ones
20
you're
years.
getting. That was not my experience.
What? McDonald's being good or bad?
No, the veggie
The
burgers.
Impossible Burger.
You gotta get the impossible ones. I
Not
think.
not just a base. You got to get the Impossible Burger brand name, trademark.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, okay. So that's a brand.
That's an
Yeah.
actual, that's a famous
Gotcha.
yeah.
variant.
Don't get the knockoff. I can't attest to those.
Yeah, it's a brand. It's like Nike. I think I pick vegetables. I've always flirted with the idea of like doing like a couple days a week where I'm a vegetarian. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like I've heard all these great ideas, like from vegetarians. They're like, look, you don't have to be vegetarian. You know, what if you just like on Wednesdays you don't eat meat? And I'm like, damn, that's a great idea. Then Wednesday comes around, I eat like 6 hamburgers.
Slip it
and,
to me
and
so
I
you can be
immediately
Catholic.
forget.
What'd you say? What'd you say, Hasbel?
I said just slip it 2 days and then you're Catholic.
Yeah,
Oh,
dude.
Yeah, boy. You understand? So I think I do it as a challenge to myself.
solid.
Like, because like I honestly I could do the meat one, no problem. Obviously, no fucking problem. All I eat is meat. Okay, I mean, there's gonna be problems. I say no problems, but I know there's gonna be a lot of problems, a lot of complications.
I think both are actually like kind of difficult,
Yeah.
right? Because like, so I would default to only eat meat as well, but then I'm like, but I like a lot of other stuff.
Mhm.
Like I like
Yeah.
lettuce on salads, and I like beans and green beans and potatoes, and like I think both would actually be quite difficult to do for a whole year.
My brother's been vegetarian for like 2 years now. Just like on the DL, just chilling. And I don't even know why he started. He's just like, I just want to try it. You
Why
know?
not?
And so I know that, and he's still fat as fuck. So it's not like you can't get down on some fucking bean burritos at Taco Bell. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
True.
so but you're right. They're both going to be hard. But I like, if it's both going to be hard, I want to do something that like I would never consider, like something super hard. Like, and going vegetarian for a year would be a fucking challenge. Like, and I would try it, like, for sure. I know I'm gonna blow my baha out either way.
hmm
Either way. Like,
Yeah.
fucking, bro, if I go too many days in a row, like, oh, I'm gonna have broccoli with dinner tonight. I'm gonna have cauliflower with dinner tonight. And I go like 3-4 days in a row doing that shit, I'm ruined on Friday.
Well, I think for me, what it comes down to is what can I eat in a different form? And you can't really turn meat into liquid, but you can turn veggies into liquid just fine and still
I
drink
mean, you
it.
can, but damn, that's gross. You're right.
So I'm gonna go with veggies.
You're right, because you can juice, you can do all sorts of things, actually.
Mm-hmm.
It'd just be a challenge. I want to do something I wouldn't do. Yeah.
I would
Definitely
pick,
gonna have to.
yeah,
Go
I
ahead.
would pick veggies too, just for
There
the
you go.
variety. For
Mhm.
the variety, and I think I could probably do vegetarian if I had to. There's no way I could do vegan because I'm like, I
Yeah.
love me some cheese.
Yeah.
And
No,
Is,
vegans over the top. Like, it's like
Over the
like vegetarian. That's like a accredited like scientific, like doctors have been recommending that for heart health for like 80 years. That's like, but take
And
like
then-
there's no like, you don't need to improve upon that. Like, that's fine.
I feel like at the 2-month mark, the genie's gonna catch me and be like, "Bro, you're eating chicken," and I'd be like, "Chicken's not vegan."
yeah.
Womp womp.
Straight to the shadow realm.
Yep, banished to the shadow
Immediate.
realm.
Yeah. So can we have eggs if we're vegetarian?
No.
I think eggs are what I would an animal protein. It's like it's meat.
I
Yeah,
know
stop-
there's
stop cheating.
I know there's different terms.
I mean, you might be able to debate it and be like eggs technically aren't meat because they're not muscle fiber or like
Like a
whatever, but, like,
vegetarian can have a glass of milk.
yes.
Yeah. So you have whey protein.
Yeah.
Oh, but the vegans can't have whey protein.
The
I guess
vegans
maybe
cannot.
so like animal protein is the wrong word, I guess, because like you can kind of get protein from milk and stuff. I mean, it's like the flesh.
Right.
Like the egg is still like the flesh of an animal.
No, I get it. Okay, that's fine. Whey protein exists. I can do whey protein. Like, yeah, I think I can do it. I think it is a challenge, bro. Like, I love all sorts of veggies. Like you were saying, I love salads. I love portobello mushrooms, like peppers and shit, man.
Yeah, I mean, like I think
Those are
it'd
the
be
only
really
vegetables.
hard.
That's all the vegetables I know of. But like, I'm sure there's more.
Yeah, because if you did no vegetables, you couldn't have any beans, no salsa, no tomatoes, no jalapenos.
Bro, I eat black beans and rice
Ooh,
every
good
day.
point.
Yeah.
Oh, it would fuck my life up, dude. Oh man. Damn, I have to go vegetarian. That's like half my diet. More than half.
Mm.
Cheese, bread, butter, and beer. You're right. Kara Quinn says you can survive on that alone.
It's true.
Bro, that's straight vegetarian right there. Let's fucking go. Wait, were medieval peasants vegetarians?
I
They
mean,
didn't
I don't
eat-
think
They
so,
didn't
but-
eat a lot of meat though.
Yeah.
They did not have a lot of meat in their diet. Not unless you were wealthy.
Yeah, that's true.
It was every once in a while kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Cheese, bread, butter, and beer. That sounds like I get behind that. Can we make that a diet? Is that a diet?
I mean,
What?
and a 100% carbs and cholesterol diet. I mean,
you could eat that. Yes.
technically, yeah. Are you gonna exercise enough to offset that?
I
don't
guess
think
if
so.
we woke up at 4 in the morning every morning, tilled the fields until literally the sun went down, it probably could sustain that, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And you're only having like 1 or 2 meals a day too. Then you're
Hmm.
not eating 3 meals. You're
And then we
maybe
died. Then
having-
we died, and we were like 38.
Yeah. You're having a plowman's lunch, and they're just like, "There's old man Kenny. Wow, he is old. He's got gray in his beard."
Yep, the oldest
old
man
is
we've
he?
ever seen.
35.
He must be 80. No, he's 28.
I call, and only a little blood comes out.
Man.
Well, that's a good one. Thank you, Wyatt. I think we all picked vegetarian. That's funny. Let's kick it over.
No,
to,
I'd still pick meat.
Let's kick
I
it
can't,
over to.
I can't go that long.
You can't. You literally no salads for you.
Without like a steak or anything, dude. Like, no, I could not go a whole year.
Just bean burritos. Taco Bell.
I could just have like fucking AG1 every morning and be fine.
Dude, does taco meat from Taco Bell count as meat?
Yeah.
Ooh, according to Congress, yes,
Okay.
but not by much.
It's like Rob is like legally.
Yes.
Legally, we'll allow it. But is it?
What about that pink slime? Did I ever get that they used to use?
What?
The pink
Yeah.
slime treated with ammonia.
Yeah.
That stuff you're talking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
That they make chicken nuggets out of.
Yeah.
Oh, that's okay.
That's why they're not chicken nuggets. They're chicken
Yeah.
McNuggets. Some shit. Or they don't even call it chicken anymore, do they? They're McNuggets is what they're
Yeah,
called,
they
right?
don't even say chicken.
They're McNuggets.
Mm-hmm.
Oof.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
The ammonia pink slime, yeah. Oof.
Oof.
Mm.
Careful
Alright.
what you eat, y'all.
Yeah, seriously. Let's kick it to Rob for news. Let's do it.
In another news, Games Workshop has started treating their miniatures with ammonia. No, I'm just kidding. I can't back any of that up. Absolutely fake news. Anyways, so we got actually lots going on. I'm going to save the Space Marine part till the end of the segment. So I guess the big news on the hobby scene, the hobby front, the new hobby products is Army Painter unveiled that they are the new official paint partner for Infinity the game, and they're putting out at least 2, but we know there's going to be more paint sets for 2 of the factions, Pano and what was the other one? Oh, the JSA. So that those will be out. They are, the new Fanatic paint. They come with an exclusive miniature and a little painting guide inside. So if you're into Infinity or just into those colors at all, they're not like, Infinity exclusive or anything like that. You can definitely pick them up for your Marines, what have you, or whatever 40K or hobby project you might be doing if it tickles your hobby pickle. They will be out in March, and I believe they are going to be around $45 US, which, going by the amount of paint in there plus the exclusive miniature, not a bad deal. Not a bad deal. In real people money, I say real people money because that's where every other company lives besides Games Workshop. So I always got to preface it in Games Workshop money. Speaking of Games Workshop money, let's start out with that. So interestingly enough, the new valuation on the Deathcore releases that are coming out this Saturday to go on pre-order for delivery on February 22nd is a little curious because it feels like some of them have baked in price increases, whereas the Astra Militarum Combat Patrol is priced at 170, where all the other combat patrols from May till now, remember May was the weird, hey, we're doing a price increase. We don't normally do one in May, but we're doing one in May after we've done like the last 4 years in February. But then we did actually do them in May for all the years prior. Don't ask me how it all works. I just work here. So there's that. So they went from 160 to 168. Now we've got the Astra Militarum at 170. So it's going to be very curious if the next combat patrol, the Eldari, is also at 170 because we haven't seen that actually hit pre-order or obviously not on store shelves. Thank you. I just had a little bit of dessert delivered.
Hmm.
Might have to turn off my camera here in a
Is
little while.
Is it plant based?
Devour it. I'm sure there is some plant. Most of the goodies here in this household that we consume are gluten free, vegan friendly, mostly vegetarian, and I think that's it. Oh,
So-
dairy free for the most part as well. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. It's tough when two people have, conflicting allergies or I
well.
guess synchronizing allergies.
You do what you gotta do.
Overlapping and complementary.
Yeah. It's like, oh, you're good for that and I'm good for this. Okay, I guess it lines up. Whatever. Yeah. So that's where we're at. Yay! Watch what you eat, y'all, because you never know.
Sugar-free pudding from fucking Jello.
Haven't hit that one yet, but they did put me on that years ago when they were trying to figure out what was wrong with me physically, not mentally.
They're like, this is harmless. Eat that. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, let's just
This
see
is
what
an ice cube,
happens.
Doc. It's an ice cube. Well, try it.
Hey, are you recording this? Why is there a camera? Yeah, so that's where we're at on that. So there might be a little bit of a stealth price increase, perhaps, but there could also be the baked in price increase because the price increase is coming. Will it be February? Will it be May? I imagine some sort of increase is coming at some point this year because that's just how GW rolls. But what it'll eventually actually be on, and how much it'll be, obviously remains to be seen. But be aware of it because things are getting wild. And don't even worry about worrying about tariffs at this point, seriously, because in the span of the last 2 days, everything that was said has been repealed, and some of it within the span of like 10 hours. So I just stopped worrying about it until something is actually passed to worry about. You know what I'm saying?
That's
Like-
actually just a really good life advice all around. The first question you should ask is, can I do anything about it?
Well, that,
And-
yeah.
And if the answer is no, stop worrying about it.
But
I mean,
by
it's-
Haspel, sometimes I say no worries, but secretly I worry.
Oh yeah, I'm actually worrying about 3 things simultaneously and a secret 4th thing.
Yes. That's the old the good old laugh cry. So but on a bit more of a brighter note, Adepticon put out a press release that basically they've already smashed their registration goals, which is dope. And that this year, is already on track to be the biggest and best yet.
Holy cow.
For Long War doubles, we obviously got way more slots. I think we have 25 extra teams this year. Well, not extra, more than normal. Plus, the waitlist already filled up and got extra tickets based
Wow.
on all that. So there's another waitlist. There's a second Z's, and we actually had spare sets of dice to sell at the event, and now we don't because they're all going to.
That's well done, guys. That's very good.
So it's gonna be super dope to see everybody there. Now, if you do want dice, we do have the picture of the dice. I don't know if Kenny saw that message yet, but maybe he can put it on the screen and we can talk about it more. But they're those dope green. I think they're the Skaven dice that Baron of Dice has. Those will be a one-time only available exclusive at Adepticon 2025. But we also have the other sets of dice that are up for sale right now on Baron Dice. He's going to bring those to the event. They're going to be for sale at the event. If you couldn't get into the Long War doubles, you can go over Baron Dice and pick those up because those are going to be, that's it. They're both the end of our exclusives for 2025, only available at Adepticon. Get them while they're hot. The end.
Yeah, these
So
things are super green.
Yeah. I mean, we like bright, right?
Oh, I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
Fucking Toxic Avenger
yeah.
green.
Make it pop.
That's my shit right there.
Some other exclusives to be aware of. Victoria Miniatures just announced her Captain Joan figure, which is a really cool Astra Militarum, in the normal Cadian colors, well painted up. You can paint it up however you want. In the normal, kind of armor and everything that looks pretty good. And Atomic Mass Games announced that there will be a Shatterpoint exclusive, not just to Adepticon, but to a bunch of conventions this year. But first time you can get it is at Adepticon. And it is the I Am No Jedi diorama featuring Vader and Ashoka. But if you really want to nerd out on it and take a closer look at it, there's only one picture of it. However, if you take a closer look at it, Vader's a little skinny, and the lightsaber hilt looks like it's built in to his hand, and it extends. The way it extends out, it almost looks like it was done on purpose to be just like the 70s Kenner figure. Can't say that for sure. They haven't said much about it, but that's the vibes I'm getting, and I really dig it. Just the way they designed it. So
what's the 70s Kenner figure?
So like the action figures that they came out with for the Star Wars movie in the 70s, they featured a slide out lightsaber, and as part of that, there was like this tube that was kind of connected to the hand for all the Jedi, and you kind of slid this little thing on their wrist, and the stem
extended the lightsaber.
So it wasn't like a guy holding a lightsaber because they didn't have the
no
technology. It was okay. I get it.
It
it was
came out of his hand, so you could extend it and retract it. And
tight.
But that's exactly what the Shatterpoint figure looks like. I mean, not that you extend it out or anything, but just the fact that the two.
Well, the orientation of the lightsaber is wrong. It supports. It's not. It doesn't support a guy holding a sword. It supports a guy.
Yeah.
Wolverine clawing a sword.
Yeah, right. Basically, yeah.
Yeah, I get that. It's kind of like how Dark Souls art. Like the way they hold their shields in Dark Souls.
Yes.
Like, you know what I mean? Like it's like that like a sick look. I like that. That's cool. I didn't know that.
So, just to kind of
the main reason they did that was because they didn't have points of articulation in the elbows.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
or the knees.
Right. I mean, that was like cutting edge back then.
It
like,
was.
When you think about it, because everything before it was 12-inch figures.
Right.
And then they went to what was it, 4.5 or 4 3/4? I forget.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was a big deal.
Yeah. That sounds like a big deal.
And I wouldn't say if it wasn't.
And then the actual Kenner ones, I think, I don't know, were 3 inches or something.
Something like that.
The super small ones, yeah.
And we loved them.
I'm gonna Google it. Kenner, Darth Vader.
And you couldn't even get
him when the
movie came out. You couldn't even get them. You had to get a cardboard placeholder. They promised you that figures were coming and that you could place your little cardboard.
He had like
under the Christmas
cardboard diorama. So you just got the cardboard diorama for Christmas with no figures in it.
Oh yeah.
The original Kickstarter.
1978. Is that what we're looking at here?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Like it's like he's like holding it in his hand.
Yeah.
I see.
Now look up the I Am No Jedi Shatterpoint and look at the Vader figure. The miniature rather. Tell me what you think. First of all, he's skinny.
Yeah, he's skinny, definitely.
The other two Vaders are not skinny like that.
Yeah, he's not meaty. Yeah.
But also too, to Haspel's point, his arms are straight out mostly, and his legs are straight out.
It's just like the pose, yeah. there definitely seems to be a little bit of inspiration there.
Yeah, that's what I was getting. But it's neat all the way around. It's really cool to see all these dope exclusives and things. And Adepticon will have more vendors this year. Not by a whole lot. They're playing it. They're playing it safe. You know, they're filling. They're backfilling with existing vendors and just kind of growing into the new venue, etc. So very excited to be part of it and can't wait to see everybody stop by the Long War doubles judge table, I guess, wherever they'll have us on Friday. We'll be there mostly all day. What is it, 8 or 10? No, it's 10. 10 to
I think we usually do
8.
10 to 10.
It seems to be at that point, right?
Yeah, that's usually what we like to do.
Yeah.
Just book it
So.
10 to 10. Like it.
And then the big rumors this week, and a lot of what we've been hearing for a while behind the scenes is that well, first of all, this summer would be, if GW follows this pattern, which so far so good on that, there will be some sort of new hobby offering, probably a new edition of some sort of Horus Heresy. Every 3 years they basically repeat themselves, etc. But that being said, part of that supposedly is that new marks of armor will be coming, and the size will be comparable or on scale with Primaris. So basically, the idea is that we've been hearing is that GW just basically is going to try to complete the upscaling of the Marine line. There's no more Primaris designation. There's no more Firstborn. It's all just Space Marine, like as they started back in 2017, which from a business point is very smart. From a collecting standpoint, I can see where it's frustrating for some folks. So
yeah,
it'll be very interesting to see how it all plays out, because there's a lot of Heresy players that are looking forward to some really dope plastics in the scale that's comparable with the plastics that just came out, and maybe not the tiny ones from 2015, 2016, 2017.
Yeah, that pretty much, if I didn't have Grey Knights, I'd be out of the hobby as far as Space Marines go.
Well,
I still got my Necrons, but yeah, that them doing that has, like, because I just don't have time to paint a whole army again.
Yeah, and that's
kind of done.
Yeah, that's where it gets. I mean, that's why it's a constant turnover strategy, right? Like,
yeah.
And
and it's. I wrote a post about it today. Or I did a video script. I forget which. It turns out people hate the AI voice. Half the people hate the AI voice. The other people can't even tell it's AI. I don't know, but now we're going back.
I think AI Rob sounds better than Rob.
I know, dude. The new AI, I couldn't even tell it was me until the ending, and because I know what I say, and what I say is hard for AI to say, and I was like, I can't even tell I can't tell which one was which until the end, and I was like, this is not good. It was kind of funny. So I talked about this a little bit today, that I don't like the fact that, and as Haspel alluded to, you have to re-hobby on a lot of things. I don't, because I don't have the time. I already invested that time. That project is done to me. I don't want to go back and redo my guardsman bases. I don't want to go back. I'm definitely not painting new Death Corps horses, right? I might redo the bases if I get a wild hair on my butt. But what I will do, I'll still play with them, and I'll just be like, hey, look, dog, this is a 65 mil, or this is a 60 oval. Like, it's all good.
Mm-hmm.
Like, get it, and if somebody has a problem, I'm not playing
it mostly doesn't matter until we get into the weapons, which but
right.
But also, if you like, it does wear on you though as a collector and a hobbyist, that not having the right model, and
well, I'm having to now proxy everything with old models, right?
Yeah, and that's exhausting for a hobbyist. Like, they don't like that. It's like,
whereas, like with my Grey Knights, even though I'm running the tiny metal ones still, you know what I mean? It's like they're the same unit, so I'm not proxying anything.
Yeah, no, it's like GW. GW put out Legends rules. They put out all this, but not even casuals play Legends rules.
No,
nobody fucking plays them.
And the only reason I'm coming across as salty is because I'm like halfway through my Emperor's Children Horus Heresy army, and now they're going to be obsolete. And it's just like, well, I'm probably not going to play the game now.
Yeah. Not gonna play Horus Heresy.
Which I liked a lot. It was a very good game, but it's like, well, if I don't have enough time
Nothing's
to keep up with.
nothing's a worse kick in the nuts, right? Like I'd say that's the number one complaint we get from people on the streets is as soon as you finish what you've been working on for years, you can't play it. That's the number one complaint.
Yeah.
That is the fucking top of the fucking food chain complaint. And it's like there's nothing we can do about it. It's just
No.
Well, you can't, but it does. But it doesn't. It's good and bad. It's bad for us personally, but
No,
it's good.
I totally understand why Games Workshop is doing it, and I actually agree with them doing it. It's just being on the veteran side of things.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's a kick to the nuts.
It's a kick in the nuts.
It really is. And this was kind of my I had a very similar point when I got in a fight with the town mayor. Oh, I say fight figuratively, but
No, he fucking
we
RKO
masterfully debated.
He went down to the town. It was over this golf club. He had an RKO the dude straight up.
It was a lady.
Give him the people's elbow.
Gave that lady the people's elbow.
And
Rob Baer beat the shit out of the lady.
I would also like to mention that she did not run for re-election later that year. Coincidence?
So bad she couldn't work. Got it.
No, but
Rob Baer bullies a woman out of office.
I did no such thing. The point I was trying to make to the project was that I am pro progress, but I felt the project was half baked, and it was. And their proposal was completely like very baby town frolicky, and it was not very well thought out. And I shot many holes in it. And I think, well, at the end of the day, my points were right. But the folks that were just like, I don't like it because it's in my backyard. Like, yeah, dog, it's in my backyard too. But progress is progress. Like you're not gonna stop down this train. And that's kind of how it is with Games Workshop. Like there has been so many iterations of rules in 10th edition that it's given people a reason to get in and get out. Maybe not like get out of the hobby, but get, like, oh, my rules aren't that good right now. I'll wait 3 months. And then, oh, okay, I'm back.
Mm-hmm.
They updated the thing, F Eldar finally. Let me roll with this. And then we got like the really sweet stuff with all the Grotmas updates in December, which was neat to see. Like some of them are better than others, of course, but I'm very pro that. But it's very hard, just like Haspel was saying, as a veteran.
Well, what it is this is something I'm having to come to terms with the last 3 years. Is we're not the target audience.
No,
they're not selling to us. Right. So it's not made for us anymore. So I have to look at my heyday in Warhammer 40K is behind me. And it's like from future on, hopefully they don't change the Necron line because I got a lot of Necrons.
I think you got some time, dog.
Yeah. So I have a lot of Necrons. And then I think I'm just going to have to suck it up and scale down to just Grey Knights. Like Grey Knights, Necrons, and Custodes.
Yeah.
And that'll be it.
And it's funny because even in like the worst case scenario, it does give you kind of a hobby focus.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the weird thing about it, right? It's like it's every time this happens, it's if you let it become a new focus, you can still partake in the joy of the hobby. But a lot of people, they stop at it's a kick in the nuts.
Yeah.
Like, and
I'll be very honest.
When I say a lot of people, probably some people. Like, I don't know how many people.
I played one game, maybe in the last 6 months, so it's not like it's affecting my game.
No, right, and that's a very reason. See, that's one of the most self-aware arguments you can make because a lot of people who do like the kick in the nuts, they leave, and I've been teaching so many students over the years, and this has happened in cyclically to so many of my students, and that's something to actually call them out on sometimes. I'm like, yeah, boy, but like your Custodes army that got nerfed is still gray plastic. He's like, well, I was like, so you didn't get nerfed. Like, they didn't validate anything. He's like, well, what do you mean? I was like, you didn't play. You never did the project. It doesn't matter. You just bought it, got the dopamine hit, built them, got the dopamine hit, put them on your shelf, and went on Facebook and got the dopamine hit from list scheming for the last 6 months. Have you not gotten your value? He's like, huh, shit.
Yeah.
I kind of did. I was like, that's mad entertaining. You got all your value. And now it's time to move on to the next project, right? But some people, they just say, fuck it, right?
Right.
It's like-
Well,
which
I mean, that's-
their prerogative. Their prerogative.
Sure.
But Haspel's self-awareness is that, like, it's really not affecting my life if I don't play. I only play one game in 6 months. So it's like, hey, most of these people are in that exact same camp, right?
Yeah,
So
and
you could take it as inspiration or not.
Yeah. And I think I was at the Haven today, and I'm like, they were asking if I was going to pre-order the Emperor's Children stuff, and I love it, but I'm like, I just don't have time.
Hmm.
So at some point, I will get Fulgrim at some point.
Yeah,
'cause
you're
I
being
want
you're
that box.
being intelligent with your financial fucking
But there's
decision
no
making.
point in running out and buying the box set so that it can
not.
sit on my shelf for 40 years before I get to it.
Number one advice I give everyone before we go to a commercial break is this: only buy things that are actively engaged in the current project on your shelf. Like, you'll never be sad.
Oh, yeah.
You'll never be fucking. This is not a collectible game. There's nothing collectible about this. As case in point, by this entire conversation, which is that they're completely invalidating swaths of models, which they've been doing since 8th edition dropped. They've been preparing us since 8th dropped for this. It's not collectible. It's not worth anything. It's just the time and energy and love that you put into it and what you get out of it. Just so buy the stuff you're working on. Nothing else. Don't get fucking drawn in by the FOMO, the Christmas releases. If you want Fulgrim, buy Fulgrim. But you don't need to buy the whole set. It's who you lying
True.
to? You're not making an Emperor's Children army. I'm talking. Whoever's listening to this podcast on the way to work and you needed to hear this, you're not building an Emperor's Children army. You know you're fucking not. You're not going to build all those models. You're not going to make this new army. It's never going to happen. Like, release it. It's done. Get Fulgrim, paint them. You'll be happy. That easy. Commercial break. Then let's go to our meat and potatoes. And we're back. As according to our show notes, we have topic meat and potatoes, and you put Astartes 2 in parentheses again. Is that a holdover from last week, or we have new Astartes 2 information?
Let me look.
This is this is a document that.
Oh well, no, I was just kind of. Oh no, that's just basically.
But I think it does
talking about the Space Marines in general.
Yeah, it does.
And
It spearheads this, right? Because we had so much Space Marine action this year and last year. So tonight's episode is faction focus, breaking down Space Marines, and we have gameplay and strategy sections, and lore and background sections, and even painting and hobby side questions, which are all the categories. So let's start off with a simple gameplay and strategy, because like I want to use this to feed the other ones. Wyatt is our subject matter expert. Are Space Marines the best beginner army for 40K, or is there perceived versatility created any bad habits in new players? This is an AI generated question, so it's poorly executed. Like that's been a long.
What number question was that? Let me read it so that I can get better.
7.
Okay.
You can always out human.
Oh,
AI.
okay. I see what you say now. Kenny just said it bad. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So my answer is a little bit more complicated. It's yes and no. It depends on what you define as beginner, like beginner friendly, beginner army, right? So like let's talk about a few different things. Cost, that's really important for beginners because 40K, like we just talked about, it's an expensive hobby, right? The time investment of painting and building those models, right, takes a while, like we just talked about. And the ease of learning their rules, right? That's important for any army, right? If we're talking about like the easiest thing for beginners to do in, price, building and painting them and learning their rules, I would say no, Space Marines are not the best beginner army. I think the best beginner army is Custodes, because you
Hmm.
don't need very many. They're priced really well for what you get. And they're super easy to paint because you just spray them bitches gold. Like, so your price, time investment, ease of play, Space Marines not necessarily the most beginner army. Um, you could go into like Space Marines are usually one of the easier armies to paint because of the power armor. So it is beginner friendly, but it's just not the most one. Um, they have the most choice of any other faction, so that's a plus side. So it's like, well, I have all of this stuff to choose from, and I can do all sorts of styles of play. Like if this looks really cool to me, I can do that, or maybe this other style. Where Custodes don't have very many data sheets, right?
Nope.
So there's not a whole lot of iterations there. Um, and they have like they're the poster child, right? So you can crack out the most on like the books, the artwork, the lore. Like it's the most like if you want to find inspiration, Instagram or Pinterest or wherever you look, they're the most prolific army. So
Hmm.
lots of that out there.
Speaking of lore, which I think is a good point because historically we've kind of always said that Space Marines is where you start, right? It is the beginner army and it is the poster child, but a lot has happened since we started saying that back in the day. And so, Mike, what makes Space Marines such an iconic faction in Warhammer 40K, and why do they appeal to so many players?
I would say it's the high concept. Like people, it's not hard to wrap your. If I say Necrons, I have to explain things in more than 1 second, in one more second, sentence rather. If I say Space Marines, just in the name, you know what I'm talking about,
Fair.
right? If I say power armor, you know what I'm talking about. And then when you and I'd be curious to see how this would change outside of the traditional like West kind of European uh, derived settings because it comes from medieval knights. That's where Space Marines come from. That's what they are. So they are elite soldiers that wear power armor, and you can get that thought across very very quickly, and people can get the entire groove of the lore very very quickly because they're already familiar with
Mm-hmm.
it. If you've heard of King Arthur, you know what you kind of get the Dark Angels
Hmm.
already. It's easy to get. It's easy to wrap your head around it. Whereas if you're like, well, tell me about the Tau or
But,
about the Dark Eldar,
well, like speaking on
right?
that subject, Haspel, they have a vast range of chapters,
Mm-hmm.
right?
I like
So
that.
talk about like you just talked about with the Dark Angels. Talk about some of that, like different chapter cultures and tactics, and doctrines, how that shapes
Well, yeah,
their
and
identity.
it's again, it's easy to wrap your heads around at least the core founding chapters or the founding legions, right? It's easy to wrap your head around them because they're usually monocolored, so they're easy to paint and they are easy to describe. Ultramarines, Greco-Roman, right? Blood Angels, space vampires. Space wolves, space Viking werewolves. You know, it's like Dark Angels, kind of Arthurian. Black Templars are Templars.
Hmm.
They're crusader, literally crusaders. You don't really need to change a whole lot. Um, and I think they were intentionally I don't think they were intentionally designed to be kind of that way to be absorbed. I think when they were setting out to make the game, they were drawing inspiration from everything that they could. And back in second edition, they weren't really making up lore, more just adapting it.
That
They
makes
were
a lot of
just
sense.
taking them and going, well, because originally anybody who has the really old Space Hulk, they have all this stuff in there about the Dark Angels, and they're based off Native Americans. They even have like name generators, and it's all kind of pseudo Native American names,
Hmm.
um, which is interesting to see.
The
But
adaptation, like you were saying, they adapted the lore.
yeah, but it's like Primarchs didn't even come around. I mean, they were
Mm-hmm.
mentioned, but the lore didn't come around till third edition.
Hmm.
Yep.
I remember that.
and
Uh,
and
it
yeah,
was
and you
it
didn't
was
even get
wild.
Space Wolf
Yeah.
stuff and stuff until like third. Well, you got some stuff in the Eye of Terror, but until like fourth and fifth, that's when the lore really started to solidify.
Yeah, we got the 13th company and the Ayatollah
Yeah,
campaign, right? Yeah,
yeah, that was third edition. So
that's
I
third
guess
Mm-hmm.
issue.
you
Yeah,
did get yeah.
That was the first time. But let's kick it over to Rob. Rob, now since we're talking about this beginner concept right now,
Mhm.
which Space Marine chapter provides the easiest access point for a hobbyist who wants to jump into the hobby? Like, how would you since on this subject of getting into it? You got this range as Wyatt expressed.
Mhm.
You've tried to convince them to do custodies, and they said no.
I want Space
I'm
Marines.
doing Space Marines because I talked to my cast before, and he convinced me. What's your like? What do you tell them to do now? Like, what do they collect? Like, what's the
What?
easiest way for them to paint?
Yeah, I think just most people you would just tell to go with the Ultramarines because they're blue. And blue's pretty much easy. Uh, you don't want to tell them like white. I mean, if they're dead set on, I want to play some white scars, like that's a different hobby conversation altogether.
You try to talk them out of White Scars for their
Yeah,
first
like
army.
you're setting the bar high, dog. Or even Imperial Fists, like
Mm,
yellow,
kind of hard. Yeah.
a little hard. Red, semi hard, not tough.
Everything's harder than
Um,
blue. Yeah.
yeah, but I think Army Painter has a lot of solutions now that weren't as easily available back in the day. To consider for that sort of thing. But I'm just basic bitch Ultramarines, I guess, right? I
So,
mean, they're easy.
but on the flip side, the thing is also, as Wyatt mentioned, like they have tons of stuff though. So it's like you can still crack out and get your full fix of all that dope
Oh,
shit, but simultaneously, painting models blue is less of an issue. But let's say the guy
right.
wants to push his hobby skills. Do you just tell him white scars at that point?
I mean, you would talk to people, see what they're thinking. For me, and I wanted to kind of chime in when Haspel was talking. Well, first of all, Ultramarines have a bunch of characters, right? And they have like the dopest, like every chapter is, or excuse me, every not chapter. They're a chapter. Every what is it? The company. Every company
Company.
is has a specific thing, and it's very regimented. So like people can crack on that. Now, I think when it comes to Marines in general, it's kind of like who's your team, right? Who do you like? Kind of like mm, resonate with, right? So like maybe it's not necessarily like hobby thing. Maybe somebody's just like, yo, I like these yellow guys. Like tell me about
Mhm.
them or whatever. Or you're I like these, oh shit, I'm really into like Viking stuff. Let me go with these Space Wolves
It
guys.
usually
Like I
is
don't care.
someone's gonna identify with something. That's usually how it
Yeah.
works. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So then that's usually how you want to lead off a conversation. Like, oh, did you play Space Marine 2? Oh, well then Ultramarines are perfect for you. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
okay, but tell me about these wolf guys over here. Oh, well, they're wolf guys, but they're a little bit more, and then you get into that, and then you start going down the hobby path. Like I actually had this happen to me, like, somebody was like, "Oh, I play Space Marine 2, I'm really digging these Black Templars." And I'm like, "Yeah, Black Templars is a good choice. Black's really easy because you can edge line it and things like that. And there's some other tricks you can do with washes and things. There's a ton of resources on YouTube." Well, I was like, "Well, so what's your favorite model so far to paint?" And they're like, "Well, I haven't actually painted anything yet." And I'm like, "All right, well, what do you got together?" And he showed me like a couple pictures. He's like, "I'm worried about I'm gonna mess up my paint." I was like, "Everybody messes up their first paint
Yeah.
job. You just got to get in there. You got to get started. You got to get in it, dog. Like, don't worry about it. Well, maybe don't paint your character, dude. Just paint a Space Marine, man.
Yep. I always tell people paint your general last.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So like, don't be afraid. Like Kenny says too. Like, be brave. Don't be afraid. Just get in there, get some paints. Don't buy 40 paints.
Yeah.
Buy what's
Hey,
realistically needed for your job.
Yeah.
On the subject though of getting into the game, like maybe somebody's concerned about how well they play. Wyatt, are there any particular chapters that are consistently outperforming other chapters of competitive play?
Ooh.
yeah, it kind of trades places. There's usually like a hierarchy between the specialist Codex Space Marines and usually Ultramarines, purely because the Ultramarines just have like the most characters with the best rules. I mean, like, I'm a big Ultramarine fan, so I mean, I know that I might be biased, but when you just compare things objectively between like Marnius Calgar, Uriel Ventress, Rabute Gilliman, Chief Librarian Tigurius, and then you look at the Raven Guard, and they have one guy, K Van Shrike, and he fucking blows. So it's just like of course the Ultramarines have the better option, right? And so that kind of trades places and goes up and down because and sometimes the Blood Angels are really tight. Sometimes the Space Wolves are really tight. Sometimes the Black Templars or the Dark Angels are really tight. And it's because they have bespoke units that only they can take, right? So any Space Marine can play any detachment other than the specialist attachments. Um, uh, so it just kind of fluctuates, right? But if you're playing Blood Angels, only Blood Angels have access to Sanguinary Guard and Death Company and Dante and etc. So it just all kind of depends. But if you pick a Space Marine chapter, I think there's two ways to go about it, right? And it just whoever you are, it'll suit you depending. Either one, you just say, I have a Space Marine collection and I'm going to add everything to that one Space Marine collection. And I'm either going to do like a custom chapter so it doesn't matter, or just say, like, if Ultramarines are your thing or White Scars are your thing, just be like, well, I have Dante in White Scars colors. Like, fuck it. That's just my jam. I'm going to do that. So that way you have the option of playing everything, or you just become a specialist in that one thing. Like, Blood Angels is the end all be all, and I will only ever play Blood Angels. And you're just going to be the best at Blood Angels, right? So there's merits to both options. It's just like if you decide to main one thing, you're slicing off all of the other. Like, you'll never be able to play Deathwing, you'll never be able to play Rebute Gilliman, like all that kind of stuff.
It's a good
And
point.
that is literally why I played Blood Ravens.
Yeah.
I can
There
be
you
like,
go.
this is not really Gulliman. It's just stolen Gulliman.
I mean, my idea was always to paint everything up as Death Watch. A decent amount of Death Watch Marines, but nowhere near what I need to actually like play a general Space Marine game, because your Death Watch dudes could just be anything.
Yeah.
Like, yo, this is my Dark Angels. This is my Blood Angels list. As long as the weapons are right and the bases are right, for the most part, depending on what kind of level of competition you're playing in, who cares?
Yeah, there's a lot of clever a lot of clever ideas over the years that a lot of people have had for creating a catch-all kind of theme. But
Mm-hmm.
Mike, if you had to pick one Space Marine chapter as the most lore rich and thematically compelling, what would it be for you and why?
Okay, among
Space Marines chapters,
among the 20
whatever.
original
I don't care.
or whatever.
That's some nerd shit.
I don't want to answer this, but I'd have to say it's the Dark Angels. I don't like that answer. That's not, but they probably are the most lore rich. They have the most going on. Um, and you can't, like, they're complex, and that's what I like about them. Outside, I like the Relictors, although I don't even think they're still around. Um, they were a really weird chapter that were
They could have some
loyal, but they used
artifacts.
chaos. Yeah,
Some
so
artifacts.
some stuff. So they've probably been scourged out of the lore.
Why do you like the
Um,
Dark Angels lore so much?
No, I just think that if you're asking like which is the most complex, like the most rich lore,
Mm.
it's probably the Dark
You're just
Angels.
putting your writer game on that, so you're not even. It's not even like your favorite. You're just like this
No,
is.
it's not my favorite at all. I actually don't like them.
Mm-mm.
But if you look at like the whole Lionel Johnson, the whole dynamic with Luther, all the knightly orders, the beasts that were in the forests,
Yeah.
all that stuff. I mean, it's just like that. You could just have an entire series just based on the Dark Angels and have nothing else. And
I
you
would
would
say
have a
Dark
very
Angels was
good-
probably the number one over all the years I've been doing my course, right, and teaching
Mhm.
people. It's easily the crowd favorite amongst all my students who come to me. They want to learn how to paint, they want to learn airbrush and everything like that. It's the highest percentage of, like the people who are gonna ask me, when can we learn how to paint like bone white, Kenny? When can we learn how to paint dark green, Kenny? I'm like, another Dark Angel guy? Come on, man. It has to be the lore. It has to be what you're talking
Yeah.
about right there. They caught wind of it in the books. They got sucked in, and now they want to make an army. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean
Oh yeah.
the Dark Secret, the chasing down the fallen. You know, it's very, very rich.
What's your,
And I hate to say this, but it's like you can distill Space Wolf lore because they're my boys.
they're
You
your
know,
boys, yeah.
and it's like Space Wolf lore is also rich, but not even close.
Mm-mm.
Like you can get a novel out of the Space Wolves. You can get a series out of the Dark Angels,
Well
like
said.
without even trying. You know what I mean?
That's awesome. I
So
hope somebody brand new to the hobby hears that and goes nuts on that as we're talking. Rob,
what is that? That was my phone. That was. I apologize
did
for
I
that.
just okay Google your phone from the other room?
I think so.
Oh, dang.
I
That's
just did it too.
hilarious.
Primaris are controversial. Rob, do you think Primaris models have improved the aesthetic appeal of Space Marines, or do they lack the character of older designs? Controversial.
Mm.
What do you think?
Yeah, that's quite the loaded question. I will answer it in two parts. Uh, I like the bigger scale because it's easier to paint. I think GW was very smart about the way they did it with the size heads, and the shoulder pads would fit Firstborn and Primaris. So they could use a lot of their existing designs in stock still, and so could we. Um, that being said, it was very controversial, right? Because veteran hobbyists didn't want to change. But what I think people forget sometimes is that there was a lot of people, remember, upscale, what was it, true scale, I think we called it, where people were
Mhm.
making bigger size Marines, basically from Terminators, making squad size or tactical squad Marines from Terminators as a project, and it was big, like in
Mhm.
for a 10-year span there up until Primaris dropped. Like that was a thing. So in pre-heresy style, remember pre-heresy style, and then we
Mhm.
got heresy, we got
Mhm.
Horus Heresy. So like GW takes the hobby trends and turns it into actual product. And yes, mainstream acceptance. I mean, we're going on what, year 8 now of Primaris?
Mm-hmm.
This summer will be year 8.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like,
Yeah.
that's significant. I mean, that they basically have outlasted Sigmar at this point.
Yeah.
Like, as because basically they went back on Sigmar in 2019. They said, "Hey, we're bringing fantasy back." So to me, Sigmar lasted 4 years, and they realized, "Oh, something's wrong." Even though we didn't get Old World.
No, that's a good. I think that's a good point. Like that's a good point. And so, but I like your point about how like you're right. I mean, Wyatt can weigh in on that. Wyatt was a big true scale guy. Like he,
Mhm.
Yeah,
he had some of the sickest projects I've ever seen going true scale. People
Mhm.
crave that, dude. And I didn't even think of that, but like that's kind of what they did. They kind of like they stole that
Yeah, that's why I quit doing it, man. Because
yeah.
Primaris for true scale, thus
Yeah.
are the dopest.
No, it's not the dopest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't
Uh,
sculpt a model better than them.
yeah.
uh, honestly, the biggest thing I have against Primaris is the names. It's like, and I suppose if I put in the time, but if you tell me what a
All
tactical
the new
squad
yeah,
is,
all
I
the
don't
new
have to look
names.
it up.
Yeah.
I know what a tactical
I
squad is.
definitely agree. It's really stupid because, like, as a player of Space Marines, you learn all that stuff, right? Like, so I know
Mhm.
the difference between intercessors, infiltrators, and septors, like
Inceptors,
incursors.
intercessors.
Yeah, yeah, all that kind of shit, right?
Yeah.
Uh, but for people who don't actively play Space Marines, they're like, "What are those? Are those infiltrators?" And I was like, "Yes." And they're like, "Do they have the infiltrate rule?" And yeah, because there's a keyword called infiltrate or
Right.
infiltrator. So it's like the unit that is called infiltrators, yes, also has that. But then other stuff that
Also
can
has
infiltrate
infiltrator.
are not called
Yeah,
infiltrator.
yeah.
Yeah, it's dumb. So it's like, like,
Got
so
them.
intercessors, if they kept intercessors as like, this is the battle line, tight. And then nothing else had an I name, that would have been really smart because
Yep.
you have like intercessors, then you have like reavers. Like everybody fucking knows what reavers are, right? They have the iconic helmets, they have the big like Rambo knives and the heavy pistols. They're terror troops, like easy to spot out. But then it's like, are those infiltrators or incursors? Because it's the same kit with like a different antenna sticking off of their backpack. and they have two very different rule sets and two very different uses in your
Mhm.
army, right? So I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm all for Primaris. I think the lore reasoning for Primaris and getting upset over that was dumb. Like, it's just newer, doper Space Marines. Why can't we just be happy? But
Sure.
the naming convention is stupid. Like, I wish they would change it.
I honestly, I hope that they just go back. Like since Rob was telling us that they're bringing the older, you know, the quote unquote firstborn to Premier size, I'm just like, just change them back. So
They're
we
not.
can
Yeah, they
just
already
have
stopped using the word
Devastators
Primaris,
and
so they're
yeah,
gonna stop using the word true firstborn, and it's just Space Marines again. So let's just come back to the old naming convention that we spent.
Yeah.
That made sense.
yeah,
I think, yeah, and I think it will make sense because of the game, right? So, I also said I said some controversial stuff that they outlasted Sigmar, and they did. And the problem, and I'll just follow that up real quick. The problem with Sigmar is that Age of Sigmar models are some of the dopest models Games Workshop has ever
Yes.
made.
In the world,
One,
true.
I
planet
don't
Earth.
think anybody disputes that.
No, yeah, yeah.
The problem with Sigmar is that the folks that play it are not collectors. They don't recycle. They don't buy more armies. They don't do the things that 40K players do. And from Games Workshop's standpoint, that's a no-no. So that's where we're at with that.
Makes
I
sense.
mean,
Yeah, no, it's the fantasy market in general has always been that way, right? It's not the turnover. It's always lagged behind Warhammer 40K in popularity, and you
mhm.
have to assume a percentage of the and popularity also is like, what is the company giving to us to make me want to play this variant? And it just comes down to uh, the players are doing something that GW likes. It's spoiler, it's money related, and therefore they're supporting us more, and it's just kind of feeding itself. But I mean, bro, back in the day, Mike, we'd go to tournaments that were kind of big, right? Like 40 people, right? That was big
Mhm.
back in the day. And they'd be like, we also have a fantasy tournament. And it's like, and sometimes enough people didn't show up from the play tournament. Remember?
Right. That would happen a lot.
A
Yeah.
lot. Like, we'd be at the biggest tournament in Colorado, and only 4 people showed up to play fantasy, and therefore they couldn't run the tournament. Canceled.
Yeah.
So it's always been lagging behind. But I do like the way GW handled the old world release, and it got people hype. And and a lot of my friends who play old world it's like they're back in it, supporting it, and now people and some of them that I've talked to personally are like, I think I'm ready to play 40K again. Interesting. You know what I mean?
Mm.
They're like, I think I'm gonna come back to 40K. I just played a bunch of old world tournaments, and I want more. So
They get that competitive
yeah.
itch.
So and we always criticize GW, but ultimately they keep making money, so we don't know what the fuck we're talking about. So they keep proving us wrong year after year. So, but let's take it out on one last question. All of you, if you could change one thing about Space Marines, whether it be lore, Haspel, rules, Wyatt, or models, Rob, what would it be?
Hmm.
Jump in any order.
Oh, I'm gonna say something controversial
Let's fucking go.
that I don't entirely agree with. So take this with a grain of salt. I would distance the Imperium from the fascist iconography. And the only reason I say that is they have, as the player base gets younger, as we Gen Xers and like late millennials age out, right? Gen Z and the younger millennials have a real issue with the fascist iconography of the Imperium of Man
Mhm.
because they don't get the joke. We
Yeah.
understood the joke. We were there when the joke was told,
Yeah.
so we know it's
You can't
a joke.
tell a joke out of context.
Right.
I don't
But
think it's
it's
that
out of
controversial, Mike.
context,
I think that's a fair point. We've made that point before.
Yeah, we agree with
It,
that. Like, I don't think
the
it's that
farther and
controversial.
farther we get from the era that 40K was created in, its
Oh, man.
satire becomes less and less relevant and thus less and
Yeah.
less able to be understood. And I mean, like, the game itself and like the lore itself has changed a lot. It's a lot less like wacky
Mm-hmm.
and
Mhm.
silly.
Ever
than it
since
used
the
to be.
novels came out, it got real serious, and so it's
Oh,
kind of
Yeah.
if you're taking yourself super serious, it's kind of hard now, you know.
Right.
Yeah, and I mean, like we saw that some of their branding has changed over the years, like less focus on the Imperial Eagle, more focus on like just the actual Warhammer shape
Right.
for Warhammer. So I mean, like if you keep the stories and the world the same, but you just like stop referring to certain things for a while, or you like slowly over time just kind of like change certain aspects, I don't think too many people are going to get upset by that. It's just like what they don't want is a rapid shove down your throat kind of change. I think
Exactly.
even if it's like for a good reason, everybody can kind of agree that the way that you do something like that needs to be like either like really communicated, like, hey, shit's changing. It's a different world now, you know? Like we're gonna make some changes. It's gonna be small, it's gonna be light, you're probably not even gonna notice that much. Or you just do it gradually. Don't just be like, we're changing this and you're gonna fucking like it. You know, don't
Yeah.
don't do that. Nobody likes that.
Nobody likes that.
You gotta coax me a little. You gotta like make some baby faces at me and like,
Yeah.
oh, we're gonna land the carrots in the
Yeah,
hangar,
and like
you know.
ultimately,
Yeah.
like a big like my favorite like joking statement to make about stuff like this too is like spoiler alert, like nothing's canon, it's all made up.
Yeah.
Like
I mean,
it's
that's been the case the whole time.
so like
But it's with the return of Gulliman and with Lionel Johnson coming back. If they bring back a couple more Primarchs, they can change the Imperium.
I love
And-
that.
Yeah, they're gonna be
That's
like, hey,
why I like the Space Marine update to the Primus. I don't care how good a story is. I like that we actually ticked over a new year. You know what I mean? Like
Right, right.
in the stories, we actually got relevant. We got caught up, and a new
Yeah.
thing happened. And I was like, "Fuck yeah!" And it affected the tabletop, man. I'm all about that. Remember in the Aya Terra campaign? This is the second time we brought it up during the podcast. Remember how we were playing that campaign? We had a big we had campaign maps and shit.
Yeah,
I don't know if you
yeah.
had one at your store. And what we were doing affected the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you could see it in real time on their seemingly real time on their website too.
I love that. So I love it when things are affecting the actual game that we play because it's the final form of all of this hobby. So yeah,
Mhm.
that's a really good point though. I love that you brought that up. Let's advance it to the second. So we have models and rules and lore. Give me a
I was the models.
you're
I
a models
think.
guy. Give me a models. Like what model would you change? Like what modeling was? Like if
I'm
policy,
so
aesthetics. You could be selfish about it. I don't care.
I don't have no skin in the game on that, but I'm gonna say something controversial.
Fuck yeah, man. Let's go.
Here we go. So I would like to see the new Primarchs for Loyalists come out and be different. You know, like because Korvax might be a Birdman, and
You want Corvax to be a Birdman. I am
I mean,
100% behind this.
and
It's not even controversial. This is just straight cringe, Rob.
not like
Every time I
100%.
hear somebody be like, Leman Rush should come back as a chaos werewolf. I'm like,
No,
yo,
I
shut
want
the
him to be
fuck up.
There it
straight
is.
up.
So dumb. This
I
is
want him to
so
be
dumb.
Bird Person from Rick and
Not-
Morty. Straight up
Well,
Bird Person.
Yeah. So let me. I'm not saying like full on werewolf or full on bird dude. Like partially. Like, yo, you've been in a warp. You're a little different. Not a lot different, but a little different.
I want full
You know what I
beak. I
mean?
want full beak face.
If it's an
Well, I mean-
emotional change, then like I'm for it. If he's like the fucking guy from Jumanji, where he's like, yo, I have seen some shit, and maybe he's gone native, I'm for that.
Like he only
The whole-
eats
like something like
worms
the whole
and
idea behind the Primarchs is that they're like slivers of the Emperor's soul that he carved off and created into a fully functioning
Right.
being.
So they're gonna
So,
have
like,
resistance.
Yeah, they have so that and then, like that's the thing. And then like also, Rob, imagine if you're Mike Haskell and like all you've wanted your entire life is to wake up on Christmas Day and Santa Claus to have brought you a brand new 40K legal Lehman Russ model, and Games Workshop is like, he's a fucking chaos werewolf. You can't even play him in Space Wolves. Like,
Well, no,
how do you think
I'm
that's
not-
gonna go over?
I'm not saying turn them into like the flesh eater court looking dudes. Like I'm saying, yeah, he's gonna be a little different.
all
Like,
I'm saying.
because look
Okay,
at-
what's the helmet they wear? What's that called?
Corvus
I
pattern.
want him to have the Corvus helmet on, and then have an option where he doesn't have it on, and he's still got the beak. It's exactly the same shape. That's it. He's still a space
Yeah,
marine.
I mean the wolf helmet was weird,
His
but
face fits inside that helmet. That's why he needs that helmet.
I mean, look at the Chaos Primarchs. They're all like huge on 130 millimeter bases. Like they're different than they were
Oh,
in
Mike
Heresy.
Aspel wouldn't be complaining if he got Lehman Russ, but he was like Angron.
I mean, that would be like maybe he's as tall as a Dreadnought now.
Comes
Or
spilling
something.
out of
Like,
the
I don't
warp
know.
like that.
But so
don't
that
know, man.
aside, something else that I think we should all take a second to consider, and this is wild when I just thought about it a few minutes ago. Space Marines, if you consider from when they came out in Rogue Trader to when they got Primaris, were slightly under 30 years old. And here we are, already a quarter of the way towards another 30-year cycle, 8 years in. So, like, think about that for a minute.
We're old.
Before
Thank you.
Games Workshop might think about, hey, we got to go to the next thing. Like now everybody's Terminator sized.
I'm down. I'm down to play this with Joy Toys, dog.
Yeah, somebody did
54
that. I
millimeter.
saw that on Instagram where somebody was playing with Joy Toys,
Yeah.
and I was just like, it's the sad statement of that is it was only probably slightly more expensive than
Yeah,
Which
each Joy
was
Toy
your
is
dope?
what, like $50?
yeah.
Wyatt, give me
But-
something you would change about the rules.
So this is something that's been talked about for, God, probably going all the way back to when we all started playing 40K.
Mhm.
Is I think that Games Workshop needs to take this holy tome, wherever it might be, the intercompany memo, that the game needs to be balanced around Space Marines, and like throw that shit in the garbage. And they need to like the standard stat line for 40K should be like toughness 3, strength 3, 4 up armor save, hits on 4s, right? Like your average Eldar Guardian, your average
That was like,
Imperial Guardsman.
yeah, that was like third edition.
That needs to be the standard that all things are balanced around, because the disconnect that many players have with Space Marines is that they are touted as, you know, like the Master Chief, John Warhammer, gods on the battlefield, power armor, 700-pound, 9-foot tall killing machines, and they're fucking toughness 4 and strength 4. And like the game is, because it's balanced around Space Marines, things are super duper lethal against Space Marines, and it feels bad. Like this is a quote from our friend Spatho, who is one of the best players in the world. Is that like 10 guardsmen is harder to kill than on the tabletop than 5 Space Marines, just because of how like the rules
How guns work.
how it all works.
Yeah,
right?
how it all works.
And so it's like your stuff is point costed.
Yeah, nothing.
for-
Nothing. You're not shooting anything that doesn't have AP or doesn't have more than 1 damage. Like that's the thing.
Yeah,
So-
yeah. So like, why is a Lehman Russ tank, which is by all metrics objectively shittier than a repulsor executioner, harder to kill than said repulsor executioner? Right? It makes no fucking sense. So it's like if they
Yeah.
change all that, let's just say in a fantasy 11th edition, they changed everything where it's like you get way less Space Marines, right? Like if they told me you have to cut your Space Marine army in half, but that half that you get to keep plays like actual Space Marines and absolutely fucks, I'd be 100% okay with that.
No, you're right.
Mhm.
What you're doing is you're creating a curve, right? Like you're creating like
Mhm.
this is the game, and it's just standard deviations based on that stat line, plus or minus deviations, and that's a really compelling game theory analysis. Like there's some XBZ late nights with you guys in the Discord talking to some top level people.
Yeah.
I can feel that. That's really thought out. So I think we did it, guys.
Yeah.
We went through our topic, went through our show notes. Next week we're gonna try to introduce Q&A. Haspel, you got a quote for us?
You are a sad, strange little man, and you have my pity. Farewell.
Second time I heard that today. It's weird.
Really?
Sounds like something Will Ferrell would say.
No.
Man, I know, like it's echoing in my head. I've heard it. I know it. I can't
You are
place it,
getting
though.
between me and my report to Star Command.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's from
Oh,
Toy Story.
Buzz
Yeah,
Lightyear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
You
Good
even
quote.
said it in the Tim Allen voice.
All right. Wyatt, you
try.
want to take us out of here?
Rob.
So that's it for this one. Thanks everybody for watching. For exclusive content, early access video, and more, make sure to head on over to thelongwar.net.